Hi guys, are you looking to buy a new laptop and you're not sure of what to look out for? You're not sure of the right way to go about it. This video right here is for you. So let's come along and see what we have for you. The first question to ask is, why do I need this laptop? Or what do I need this laptop for? What is the purpose for getting this laptop? Is it for school? Is it for gaming? Is it for graphics design? Is it for data analysis, or is it for just basic work? Is it for SME, a small business that will just be doing minimal work? Just to inform us, to know the right features to recommend, and so that we won't be overwhelmed with too many options. The processor is the brain of a laptop. Now, the kind of work that you do, the kind of task that you want to carry out on the laptop will determine the kind of processor that will be recommended for you. For instance, if you be doing just minimal work, like working on Excel or just typing or just basic web surfing, and basic school work, basic projects, school project, and all of those things, they will recommend like a Pentium processor or an AMD Ryzen 3, or would say at best a Core i3 processor for you. These processors are actually fine enough, they are good enough to run those tasks effortlessly. But if you be carrying out every task like programming, data analysis, 3D designs, graphics designs, and all of those kind of things, video editing, this kind of tasks require much heavier processor speed or processor strength. I would recommend a Core i5 or a Core i7, or would recommend AMD Ryzen 5 or AMD Ryzen 7. This kind of processors will actually drive your work effectively. It's not like you can actually run those kind of heavy tasks on a Core i3 or Pentium processors, but just like using a Toyota Corolla to tow a truck, you know how much effort it will take. That's how actually it looks like. But running those heavy tasks on heavy processors is like towing a Corolla with a truck. You can see how effortless that will seem like. So that is why I would recommend heavier processors for heavier tasks. But for minimal work, you really don't need heavy processors. Using heavy processor like a Core i7 for minimal work, just like using a G-Wagon for Uber. You can actually do that work, but it's just above par. The Corolla is enough for that job. You get it. The RAM affects how smooth the laptop runs. For the light users, 4 gig is perfectly okay. But I think 8 gig is like the spot for most users. With 8 gig, you can actually run a lot of tasks effectively, smoothly. But for very heavy users or those that do a lot of multitasking, would recommend that you go higher a bit to 16 gig and more, depending on how heavy your work is. For instance, if you're doing a lot of video editing, or you're working with a lot of heavy stuff, then we recommend you do 16 gig. You could go higher, 32 gig, 64 gig. But if you're just doing minimal work, like I said, 4 gig is fine, but 8 gig is the perfect spot, the perfect point where you can actually just stay and say, you know what, you are good to go. For storage, I would recommend always use SSD instead of HDDs. We have a video explaining how SSD and HDD works, and you'll actually see why we recommend SSD over HDD. But what is SSD? SSD is solid state drive, while the HDD is hard disk drive. If your computer is currently running on HDD, we would recommend that you actually swap it for SSD. I can assure you that you actually see the effect in speed, especially my hard drive crash, my system is slow. Most of those issues come with a bad HDD, but SSD to run smoothly. The size of the storage doesn't necessarily affect the speed of the laptop. The size of the storage just talks about how much information or data you can save on the laptop. If you know you are a heavy user or you work with data that is usually heavy, like video files, then we recommend you go for high storages. SSD commonly comes in 128 gig, 256 gig, 512 gig, 1 terabyte, and 2 terabytes. Most common of SSD storages is 256 gig. 256 is enough to cover up for space and for storage issues. But if you know you actually do much more heavier stuff, then you can actually upgrade to higher storages like 512 gig, 1 terabyte, or whatever you can go with. But don't forget, we always recommend SSD over HDD, or what we commonly known as hard disk or hard disk drive. The battery life of a laptop is very important in choosing the right laptop. Why do we say this? For a society like ours, where we know light situation is very erratic, it's best to go for laptops that have longer battery durations. But for heavy users, truthfully, you can get long durations, but the heavier the use of the laptop, the faster the battery drains. So we recommend that you check the battery life of the laptop, you check how fast it can go or how long the battery will last before choosing the right laptop for yourself. And there are free softwares, free tools that you can actually use to check the battery life of a laptop. You can know how good the battery is or how bad the battery is. By installing these softwares, you know if the battery is at a very, is still good enough to last long. We would recommend that batteries that are below 80% ratings, those should be neglected. But try to look for laptops that are, especially when considering a used laptop, make sure the battery is at least above 80%. That will last much longer for you. Finally, all said and done, what is your budget? How much do you have to spend? That is very important. Don't kill yourself. You have a budget. You know how much you can afford. But sometimes you have to actually overshoot your budget. Sometimes what you have is not enough. With all this information that you've gathered so far, you could say that, okay, what I want, my budget cannot carry it. Let me use the Nigerian language. So what do? You can actually save a little more so that you can get what will actually work best for you. But you cannot always get what is best. But sometimes you can get something that will be okay or that can work well, at least with time. Then over time you will actually change your budget. But your budget actually determines a lot of things. But I would just say, look at what you want, look at the proper specs that will be recommended for the kind of tasks that you want to do. One, then look at your budget, then get a reliable reseller, someone that you can trust, that you can reach out to recommend the right laptops for you. If you don't have one, we are here for you. You can drop a comment, you can send us a DM, and we'll actually recommend the proper laptop for you to choose. So thank you so much for listening. I trust that this video has been very informative and very educative. I also recommend that you like, you share, and you drop comments, and you also help us to serve you better. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to watch our other videos that we have in stock for you. Bye.